Hello and welcome to the GameShow Global Esports Cup. We're back in CDEC.Y versus Team Duobao. And this should be a pretty interesting game. As you might have noticed on the stream earlier, they started the lobby without any casters, so they went ahead, went through the draft, and we're now remaking an all-pick. I have no idea how the draft ended up this way. In general, Duobao, though, quite like what they're bringing to the table when it comes to their raw synergy. The minus armor and the damage they have to back that up is pretty darn ridiculous. And we'll have to see how well that's going to carry them to victory. For CDEC, by no means are their heroes bad. And it looks like their lanes are actually going to be pretty solid. It just feels like Duobao have a much more substantial initiation. At least until much later down the line. Having the Spirit Breaker charge, just the sprint to crush. There's a lot of ways for them to start fights on their own terms, and CDEC might be a little bit more on the back foot. Still responsive, or in the responsive, their heroes are pretty darn good. They have a lot of damage to the table with their Zeus especially. Looks like he's going to be played mid against the Shadow Fiend. Usually I don't really like Zeus against Shadow Fiend. The mid lane matchup tends to just be a free farming lane for the SF, and I don't think this will be any exception. Still, what Zeus is going to be able to offer to the team with these early levels, a mass amount of burst damage, and maybe, just maybe, they're going to be able to catch Duobao off guard. Looks like the Slaughter is going to be the safe lane farmer for the Radiant side. A reasonable selection by them. Should be able to ensure himself that Blink Dagger at a pretty early stage. Still the Doom plus the Lich in the offlane. It's going to be very annoying for them. I wonder if Lich is actually going to stick around in that offlane for much. And now he's just going to be denying up one of the creeps in mid. Both Zeus and Shadow Fiend will pick up their bounty runes to start off the game. And everything will start out much as one would expect Dota to start out right about now. Lich Zeus. If they stay as a dual lane, that is going to constantly deny up some farm away from the Shadow Fiend without much loss when it comes to experience. And they're going to post up pretty aggressively onto the SF because they can. Not much that SF can do to respond to that. He'll ferry out the Salve, but there's just so much poke. Top lane, though, the Slaughter and the Dazzle are going to go in an aggressive dual lane. The Spirit Breaker is going to be in the bottom lane with the Witch Doctor. Very, very interesting. I don't think the difference between these two laning configurations coming out from Duobao is that huge. Still, I think putting the Slaughter in the bottom lane where he doesn't have to deal with the extra poke from the line would probably have secured him the Blink Dagger farm a little bit sooner. And maybe the Spirit Breaker is able to play a tad more aggressively onto the Juggernaut if you get a couple of lucky bashes. And still, as I said, I don't think that's going to be a huge difference, and it'll be interesting to see how the Spirit Breaker uses the extra farm that he is going to be able to pick up. Doom going to snag himself the Frost Armor creep, a really nice creep for Doom. That extra 8 armor means so much in the laning stage, especially if you're being poked down by a Witch Doctor. And he probably will. It is worth noting that the creep Frost Armor doesn't actually slow ranged heroes whenever they attack. And I think Lich's does, although I'm not 100% sure on that. I think that was changed recently. No, Shadow Fiend dropping pretty low. Doesn't look like that's going to be lethal yet. Lane configuration isn't really all that conducive to getting kills. Unless they catch an awkward crush onto the Juggernaut. No, I'll be able to walk that one off. Feels like Duobao are going to lack the damage unless they catch the Juggernaut as he's tanking a couple creeps with a big heal bomb coming out from the Dazzle. Well, it might happen. Though it feels like that could be unlikely. Oh, Dazzle dies up towards top lane. He's going to be isolated by the Juggernaut. The power of that spin is definitely there. And just in an awkward corner. I was about to talk about this mid lane. 12-1 compared to 8-3. This is doing quite well at this early stage. That said, it's so hard to stop the Shadow Fiend from farming. And he will be able to catch up in this game. Even though this early stage is a little bit troublesome for him. He's picked up enough souls now to where the Zeus really doesn't have a hope of denying him. Yeah, it still feels very weird to see this Slaughter in the top lane where you have a safe lane farming Spirit Breaker. By no means is the draft weird for Duobao, just the selection to go for these dual lanes in such a configuration. I think it is going to hurt them a little bit, especially after that one death on the Dazzle. It's going to be a lot harder for them to be able to bring this lane back to parity. The Lich is going to sit up top, constantly deny away a couple of creeps, and the experience lead for the two supports is really one of the big things that's going to make it difficult for Duobao. With level 3 on both of them, they're going to open up onto the Slardar. Of course, they're not going to kill him off without the Juggernaut spin, but they're going to put so much damage in. Force out the salve for next to nothing committed. Both the Lion and the Lich are very well sustained. And the Doom is just not going to have anything to do with that bottom lane. He's actually gone into the woods. This is a free farming Spirit Breaker. That's a lot of space for him. He's going to get a lot of levels, but as a Spirit Breaker, it's really just very interesting to see him get that much space. And I do like this rotation coming out from Duobao. They're going to move their Slardar back down to the bottom lane, where he's going to have a little bit more room to work with. The Spirit Breaker, level 4. A little bit surprised he doesn't go for a charge on the Zeus, but with high ground vision, Zeus should be able to cancel out that charge most of the time with a Thunderbolt. So that's probably one of the big reasons why he hasn't tried it yet, but now going for that top rune, Zeus might be in a little bit of trouble here. The Zeus will walk all the way around and will be just fine. Has a regeneration rune and a couple of supports behind him if they decide to chase furthermore. And the Spirit Breaker is just going to make the long walk up towards the top lane. Oh, it does come to my attention that I have messed up the overlays. I don't think anybody's going to be too heartbroken about that. We'll switch those on now. And still, this early game feels like it's going quite well for CDEC. Mid lane, looking very even. Zeus versus Shadow Fiend. I think Zeus is going to be really happy about that, especially with the regeneration. He's going to look for another bolt. If that bolt connected, things get interesting for the Shadow Fiend. If we had the ultimate up for the Zeus, it's probably a dead SF. Juggernaut's farming away. Zeus is doing well, and even the offlane Doom is getting his levels at a little bit faster rate than the Slardar. And Doom, even if he does have a poor early time, can still come back with the constant Devour Gold up and running. Slardar has no such mechanism. He wants to be involved in getting these early kills, and to do that, he needs either somebody to set up for him, or to get a fast Blink Dagger, at least to do so reliably. Dual lane versus dual lane feels like CDEC will have a slight advantage down here. Even with the Slardar having the backup from the Dazzle now too. Just having the Lich is going to be a constant nuisance. The CDEC youth are doing very well in their lanes. Shadow Fiend. Now farming up inside the woods isn't quite in lethal range to the Zeus, and it's going to start farming up some creeps, but the jungle camps have not been stacked up. One of the other disadvantages of going for dual lanes is the fact that your supports for the most of the early game are going to be tied up in their respective side lanes and are not going to have the time to make up those big stacks. Lich dropping low, forced all the way back to base, but with a couple of bolts thrown the way of the Shadow Fiend, he has to run. This Doom is coming in fast. Zeus ultimate going to be committed with the Scorched Earth. Almost the death of the Shadow Fiend. Thinks about going for a neutral die. Thinks better of it. The Doom, still pursuing, is not fast enough to get in range. The Shadow Fiend getting majorly messed up. If Doom was able to get a net off, maybe that's a kill. But fortunately for the Doom, just not able to find that, and Shadow Fiend able to juke him out. Even without that kill, Shadow Fiend's forced all the way back to base and is losing out on a lot of his flash farming time and his ability to stay in lane. The Zeus is, in general, performing a lot better than I would have expected the Zeus to, and whenever he has that ultimate up and running, you have to be scared if you're Duobao. Your supports do not have that much HP pool, and the Slardar also does need to respect that burst damage output, especially when he has sprint applied. A slight early advantage for CDEC with a little bit more lane efficiency, and in general with their lanes working out better for them will give them about 1,000 net worth lead and 1,500 experience lead early on this game, but up towards top. The Juggernaut getting pretty banged up here. The Spirit Breaker doesn't have Nether Strike though, and the Juggernaut will be fine. Had the Mango, and if the Spirit Breaker commits too deep, they're away from the creep wave. There's an Omni Slash waiting for him, even though he doesn't quite have the mana now. Another charge will be thrown towards the Zeus. They don't have vision of this charge. They do know Spirit Breaker is missing, but here it comes. It is going to connect right squarely onto the Zeus. Looking for the bash. Not going to find it yet. They're going to bounce him away from that raise. They can't get off the long one because the Lion's here. Throwing another bolt. The Zeus has a soul ring. Really needs to be careful, though. The line will be raised down. Can the Zeus get out to safety? It looks like he will at least get under the tier 2, but is that going to keep him safe? They're going for the dive. Shadow Fiend. Oh! Is going to eventually land the raise. The Zeus ultimate's committed. They want to kill this Spirit Breaker and the Shadow Fiend. Doom going to bump into the SF. SF is going to get right-clicked down. No real way about it. And we have a pause. Such a deep commitment coming out from Duobao. I'm very surprised that they actually go for that. The Shadow Fiend is going to buy out, not going to lose a lot of gold, even though you're dead to this next side attack from the Doom. And if nothing else, the Scorched Earth would probably do him in. Oh, it could have been a lot cleaner. The Shadow Fiend had a little bit of a pathing issue around these trees. He was looking for the rays on the Zeus back here, ends up facing about 90 degrees down towards the south, and not able to find that angle as nicely as he would have liked. We'll give CDEC the time to respond, and also give Zeus the time to pop his ultimate before he goes down, which is one of the big reasons why the Shadow Fiend is in a situation like this right now, as he considers his life choices, and will probably be content since he isn't going to lose that much gold. Boop. Dead Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend is going to lose quite a large lump sum of souls. At this point, though, losing your souls isn't that big of a deal when you're against a Zeus. He'll be able to double raise down a couple of creep waves, and the real winners here are the side lane heroes. The Slardar and the Juggernaut getting free farm in the meantime. Mostly the Jug. Charge forward, they're going to bump into the Juggernaut. But again, can't go for this. He's going to think about going for another strike, but Omni Slash and Juggernaut just isn't amused. Spinning down, this Spirit Breaker is going to die one way or another, even though he does get the Nether Strike to connect on the Spirit Breaker. Yeah, I'm really surprised he goes into that without having the creep wave back up immediately. Just a well-timed Omni Slash from the Juggernaut, and he's down. After getting so much early space, the Spirit Breaker has not farmed almost anything. 26 and 10 by no means is bad for a Spirit Breaker, but considering he got so much early free farm, it's really unfortunate for him that he's fallen so far out of favor. It's only on even footing with the Doom near enough. In fact, the Doom has a slight net worth advantage because of Devour. The Slardar has found himself some quality farming space, and they do have a charge in from the Spirit Breaker, but I think they know about this, or at least have a pretty good idea. The Lich is too deep for them to dive. Here comes Lion and Zeus. Lion is level 5, even without the ultimate, so a lot of damage from this duo, especially if they bump into the Witch Doctor. Farewell might be saying a very quick farewell if he's going to bump into those two alone. He's escorted, though, by two really beefy frontliners and a Dazzle. The Juggernaut left alone in top lane is going to be able to take down that tier 1 tower and is well on his way towards his Battle Fury. CDEC are just getting a lot more farm out of this map. The really crucial timing window is when this Slardar picks up that Blink Dagger. Another awkward pause. Things have really slowed down. Even in this game, there hasn't been too much aggression, despite having the potential for it, especially coming out from the Spirit Breaker, and even though the Spirit Breaker has been involved in all of the kills for the Radiant side. Oh, really, that first death for the Dazzle is what set the tone for Duobao, and they haven't been able to find nearly as many openings as they'd like to. They have to respect this CDEC burst damage now, and the line has gotten over the awkward early stage for Lion where you're just trying to get your levels up and running. Once you have level 3, things get so much easier for the Lion to contribute, and he's going to have that Finger of Death. Finger of Death is almost insta-kills on Witch Doctor with Earth Spike, it pretty much is. And maybe they'll be able to get a bigger kill. Shadow Fiend also not super tanky at this point, neither is the Slardar. At least not tanky when it comes to Finger of Death, which is a tool that's going to be up and running for CDEC very quickly. They already have the Lich Chain Frost, though. One of the big advantages of this hero is the experience lead that you do get, and it's working out nicely for CDEC. Because this laning stage has gone off without a hitch. Spirit Breaker thinks about Nether striking top lane. Last time he did that didn't work out too well for him, and that was even without having the Zeus ultimate to back him up. Zeus hasted. If he found somebody, he might have been able to bring them down. Things will slow, though, as we're just kind of waiting for that next round of aggressive tools from both of these teams. Are they really going to smoke, I wonder? This is a very interesting smoke movement. You don't expect a Juggernaut that's going to be rushing towards that Battle Fury to pick up a smoke here and group up with the team. And that's exactly why this rotation is so good. The Shadow Fiend isn't going to think this is happening. He's just happy, content, taking creeps. The Dazzle's going to pop the smoke. The Juggernaut's going to show himself around the corner. It looks like this rotation is going to be foiled by the Dazzle just being in the right spot at the right time. Even without finding that initial jump, This is a terrifying grouping up of heroes for CDEC Youth down the bottom lane. The Zeus is there in spirit too, with the ultimate at the ready if they find an initiation, and it looks like Duobao want nothing to do with this. There's no TP on the Juggernaut for 17 seconds or so, so it looks like he's going to push with the rest of his teammates. No points in healing ward yet, still a decent amount of physical damage on the Juggernaut. And they'll put a little bit of chip here, but not be able to take it outright. It's something we're seeing more and more often, that is TP's in for those safe lane farmers to find those angles of initiation on the enemy's side. They'll take the tier 1 tower. Instantly after that, they go for the fight. They are usually expected to go back into the woods, and even if they go back into the woods, maybe Duobao are a little bit afraid that the Juggernaut's smoking up with the team. The side of Duobao gonna group up in mid as Shadow Fiend's gonna go for the Shadow Blade. I have really mixed feelings about this item. Let's see if it pays off. A bit of a risky proposition coming out from him this game. If it gets him a couple of pickoffs, that's one thing. But I think the mechanism might be almost necessary if you're doomed. However, both the Shadow Fiend and the mech are not nearly as effective. Maybe just going for a stat build at Sanjin Yasha wouldn't have been bad either. So is Initiating Tool. Has its merit. Oh, another strike bottom lane. The Lich in a lot of trouble. He's gonna get brought down. They even involve the Slardar here. They give the last hit to the Spirit Breaker, but here comes Zeus. Here comes Juggernaut. He's coming in fast with an Omni Slash. Gonna be able to get that off because of a ward vision around the corner. If you're the Spirit Breaker, you probably know that they have a ward now. That Omni Slash was really close to the edge of that range. In fact, it was very much outside of that range. Whenever you're chasing in Dota, those circles get artificially extended so they don't get chuked out. If you have the vision, it's really quite amazing what you can do if you start that animation earlier. He's getting really close to this Battle Fury. With that farm acceleration, in general, just a naturally good item at accelerating Juggernaut's damage inside these team fights with the Omni Slash. You need to be very scared. Slardar needs the Shadow Fiend to start rolling and start getting huge, or to really have a huge impact in this game, and to tap into that minus armor power. The constant Zeus ultimate scouting out. They probably know that Slardar doesn't have his blink yet, but they should have a good idea that he is getting close, and he is. 280 gold or so till he has that completed. The drums are done on the Doom though, and CDEC are getting items that are going to allow them to fight, and even these supports aren't too off from some pretty major pickups if they're able to activate this line and get a couple of pickoffs with the Finger of Death. It'll be very close to his blink if they find it on crucial targets and he gets the last hit. 3-4. An incredibly slow start to this game as Shadow Fiend is going to swagger his way up towards the top area in the map. He has the Requiem, level 2. The Doom, if he's looking at his status bar, might know that there's a Requiem on top of him, but it's too late. Even if he does recognize it, can't get off the Doom. Right-click him from the Shadow Fiend, and first Shadow Blade usage is going to be an effective one. Charging forward, the Spirit Breaker also going to join the party. But that bodes well for Duobao's future. And now grouping up, they have the Blink Dagger on the Slardar. After that Shadow Blade, the initiating items up for the Radiant squad. It's going to mean that they have a lot of potential to go aggressive and to find fights on their own terms. But it looks like CDEC also aren't going to be outdone. They're farming up Ancients, and they're also grouped in such a way that they might want to smoke. Duobao, looks like they know that Ancients are happening. Oh, Blinking Crush catches out 3. Who needs Ravage when you have Slardar? Finger of Death is going to be thrown. They just don't quite have the damage yet. Shallow Grave. The Zeus ultimate is going to be spent for after that one. Waiting for the Shallow Grave to expire. The Slardar is going to go down to that. But with one more raise, the Shadow Fiend gets the kill on the Zeus. Doomed up, can Shadow Fiend escape? Dust for good measure, even though his Shadow Blade was on cooldown. He wouldn't have been able to use that anyway. He needs to wait out this Doom. This is going to be the longest 5 seconds of Shadow Fiend's life. The Earth Spike misses, and Shadow Fiend, the dust is expired. He can just Shadow Blade and run away from this. Is he inside range of the tower? No. Shadow Fiend is A-okay. He's fine, guys. I know he's here. They just don't have the detection for it. They should have saved that dust. Doom getting a little overambitious there. Unfortunate for CDEC. They get the Slardar, sure, but with that 3-man crush, Sardar's okay giving away his life. Even in the safe lane, is more or less just a utility initiator that is going to make the Shadow Fiend shine. And speaking of that Sanjin Yasha from earlier, Shadow Fiend's well on his way towards having it. Has the Aquila done, and almost the Yasha complete. This is where Duobao's team is at their scariest relative to CDEC because CDEC just don't have the initiating power. It comes out from the charge, it comes out from the Spirit Breaker. They have a lot of burst damage, sure, but it relies on Duobao overextending a little bit for them to be able to capitalize on that perfectly. Seven to 5. In a situation where everything's kind of slowed. The Shadow Fiend at the top of the net worth chart. Juggernaut not too far behind him. Really a very close game. And in fact, on the graphs, it's almost completely zeroed out. Duobao with a slight experience advantage. But only slight. Both of these teams are playing grouped up a lot this game as they smoke up with the majority of their team. The only one who's not here is the Lich. They're going to open up with the vision onto the Slaughter. They'll get in range for the Hex. They have an Earth Spike to follow, and that is going to clip him. Doomed up, the Slaughter is going to fall. The Witch Doctor ultimate, though, bouncing. The Witch Doctor will be able to kill off the Lion in trade. A 1-for-1 exchange that CDEC will be happy with, but it's not quite over yet. Shadow Fiend is Shadow Bladed around the corner. We'll decide that there really isn't a clean opening. It is going to have to pull out. So many cooldowns expend from either side. A lot of commitment for the Slaughter. If they get a Doom on another target, maybe they're going to be able to take more kills inside that engagement. In such an even game, if you're able to trade Safelink Farmer for support, you're pretty happy with it. The only downside is it is going to delay that Lion's Blink that I was talking about earlier. I kind of do want him to survive, and it's not terrible for Duobao either. Slaughter has what he needs to be able to contribute inside these fights. Of course, you're going to need a BKB this game. Or maybe even something on top of that before he's really comfortable. As long as he's able to get off the crush, that's what Duobao need him for. Juggernaut, even though he hasn't been as active when it comes to finding those solo pickoffs as the Shadow Fiend. In the last couple minutes of this game, both of them are mirrored in KD and pretty much mirrored in farm too. The biggest difference is the fact that Juggernaut's been able to farm up these Ancients and will have a slight net worth lead, if only slight because of it. He's gonna have his Yasha very soon as well. Manta style on the Juggernaut feels like a really good pickup this game. Purging off the Slaughter as Amp, in general, already a good item on Juggernaut. I don't see a reason to not go for Manta. Sanjay and Yasha is nice and all. I think the extra utility being able to purge off Amp, though, is I can give him a little bit more incentive to go for that build, as if he needed any. Still, Sanjay and Yasha is not bad either. Duobao are going to push out top and bottom simultaneously as the SF is very liberally using his Shadow Blade as a tool to escape from CDEC. They don't have great catch. They'll drop the Zeus ult, but they know he's here, but they can't cancel his TP channeling. But here comes the smoke from CDEC. The rest of your heroes are top. They know Shadow Fiend can't be involved in this fight. Do they really want to take it 3v4 though? If they had the Juggernaut here, I'm pretty sure CDEC do try to make that jump. They won't be able to. Zeus, his item build is going to start out with a Bloodstone completed on him. Huge amount of damage can come up from the Zeus with the Bloodstone. Is able to contribute a lot to the team, although still a tad on the squishy side, even with the extra stats that are offered to him. They're going to miss the crush and cancel the charge. Zeus has the Bloodstone delivered. CDEC might be able to look for a turn. They really do need some sort of initiating item coming out from the Doom. A Blink War Stomp would be amazing for CDEC at this point. And the Blink Doom, of course, is one of the big reasons why I'd be getting that Blink. Shadow Bladed SF, gonna bump into Lich. 1, 2, 3. Easy kill. And now here comes the charge. The rest of Duobao, now that it's starting out 4 versus 5, are going to jump in. Nice crush initiation onto 2. Nether Strike. Juggernaut can't get off a single thing. They have the Amp onto the Doom, taking so much damage, trying to run away, but you can't outrun the Slaughter, who cancels his Blink Dagger, but with the Coconut flying, farewells on a killing spree. Blink Crush under the tier 3. They get the bash on the Lion. Poor guy. Oh, just getting dove to no end. Double kill for the Witch Doctor. Zeus might be able to turn around. This is not how CDEC envisioned taking these fights after getting the Bloodstone. And it feels like a lot of this comes down to the draft. Since they did start the initial game without casters in the lobby, I'm not sure how the draft went down, but CDEC are kind of missing that initiating power. If they have something like a Clockwork, a Spear Breaker, anything really with the Blink initiating tool, this game gets a lot easier for them. Or not necessarily Blink initiating tool, I did mention Clockwork, but anything to get the jump on a Duobao, so they're not always on the responsive. And even if they are on the responsive, they need some sort of counter initiation. Tusk Earthshaker would have even fit the bill for them. Oh, bottom lane, Zeus. Your Bloodstone looks like it's going to be losing a handful of charges here. One right click and just a couple of raises afterwards. He's going to suicide straight up. 5 charges now on this Bloodstone. Not looking too happy. 12-6, and Duobao is starting to run away with it. There's a reason why Slaughter is so very popular in this scene right now. And it is because of that initiation edge and also just the amount of damage you're able to pump out of this SF. Already, Shadow Fiend is hitting for just a casual 224 when he's not in agility treads. Add another 9 on top of that whenever he is. Then you had Presence of the Dark Lord. Then you had the amp damage for a very balanced amount of minus armor for taking down these heroes. The armor situation for CDEC isn't all that impressive either. The Lich, with his frost armor, is able to patch that up a little bit. But the Zeus in particular, 3, unless he has the armor on him. They're going to drop the Zeus ultimate, trying to catch the whereabouts of Duobao. And they do have a pretty good idea that, maybe the Radiant team are going to go for an aggressive smoke rotation. But right now, a lot of emphasis is being placed on the Roshan pit, as it should be. With the minus armor from the Presence of the Dark Lord and the amp damage, they're able to take it so quickly. Duobao and CDEC also don't have a terrible Roche lineup either. But Juggernaut just being so naturally good. Mask of Madness probably done. On Art next. His damage output is amazing. But being able to get off that damage output is another thing entirely. He doesn't have somebody to open up the fights for him, and he kind of relies on Duobao missing their initiation. And that just hasn't happened in the last couple of minutes of this game. They have the weave applied, they're ready to go charging forward. They're going to change their focus into the Radiant Woods. They see the Zeus and they want blood. He's dewarding, but that deward might end up costing you big. He's already down to 5 Bloodstone charges. Turns around for a couple of bolts. The Finger of Death. The Slaughter is going to drop low. Nice bounces from the Chain Frost. A 1-for-1 exchange now as they should be able to chase down Farewell 2 on the south of this fight. Juggernaut running away from the Shadow Fiend. It looks like he's going to be able to get at least a little bit more space as Farewell juking them in the trees. They dust him up. Witch Doctor? Oh my goodness. Is able to juke them out. That was nice. A 1-for-1 exchange slider for Zeus is actually not that bad for either team. Of course, the gold is going to favor CDEC, but the experience favors Duobao. And the Zeus loses Bloodstone charges. This is one of the saddest Bloodstones you're ever going to see. You pick it up, you die twice without getting involved in a single kill afterwards. At least not one that you were in range, and I don't think he has been involved in a single kill. No, you're really just not in a happy place. Not in a happy place for a Zeus at the very least. Or any hero for that matter. Nobody really wants to be dying. Shadow Fiend. Even after being repelled in that last fight, now they're going to go into Roshan, and this is going to fall so quickly. The Doom already being spent. CDEC don't have that tool. They don't have their Finger of Death. They don't have their Omni Slash. They're going to drop the Zeus ult, and they have good vision in this pit. But can they take the fight? I really have my doubts. Slaughter might be on the front lines. Juggernaut's going to walk in here. He has no ability to get his ultimate off. It's on cooldown for 40 seconds. The physical damage is huge. BKB popped by the Spirit Breaker. A couple more right clicks and he's going to go down. Coconut bounces a line. Another right click. Shadow Fiend gets the kill. And Doom, trying to get the level death, cannot get a single hero. Buyback by the Juggernaut. But Duobao gets so much from that. That was such an interesting fight for CDEC to go into. A very risky one at that. They just didn't have their ultimate cooldowns available. Nothing was there. Except for the Thunder God's Wrath, and that was mostly his vision tool at the start of the fight. Duobao might not be able to get the Roshan after the fact, but what they get is even more important, and that's the buyback on the Juggernaut, slowing down his item progression, and also taking that buyback off of the table without buyback available for the Juggernaut. Duobao might just be able to go straight up high ground if they kill him off a couple more times. Now grouping up again. This time around, CDEC are going to have their ultimates. Even though that last fight goes pretty disastrously, it's mostly because they just didn't have the cooldowns available. But now that they do, their chances of taking this fight are so much greater. Even with a pretty substantial lead now in the favor of Duobao. That's 7,500 net worth, 5,000 experience in favor of the Radiant squad. CDEC is still sticky around this Roshan pit. They do have the Blink Dagger on the Doom. If they're able to proactively initiate onto the side of Duobao, maybe things can go well for them. But I've seen this smoke before, and it doesn't end well for CDEC, especially not when you have a double damage Shadow Fiend. As if he needed any more right-clicking DPS. They'll defensively apply the weave. The smoke's going to break. Blink Crush is going to miss onto the Juggernaut. Still amped up. They have vision around the corner, but Slardar is too low to keep on going comfortably. The Glimmer Cape of the Slardar. Blink Hoofstomp going to land. Nether Strike not going to be thrown. A posturing game from both sides. And it looks like nothing's really going to happen. Spectator Fog is a little bit bugged when it comes to Slardar as Zam, but Duobao know pretty much exactly where the entire CDEC.Y side is, and with that double damage, and Shadow Fiend will be able to mop up the Aegis now has a BKB, and everything's falling in place for Duobao. You get a good fight going your way, you get Roshan, and your advantage now. CDEC are the ones entirely on the back foot. Still, you can't underestimate the damage to the Mask of Madness Juggernaut can pull through into an Omni Slash when you have that Battle Fury running. Even when clumped up, the spill damage is pretty cool. Well, everything will slow down for a little bit. The calm before the storm as Duobao are preparing their lanes to go for the push. Now, waiting for this Blink Dagger on the line. That could be one of the X-Factor tools for CDEC.Y to be able to hold down the fort and to be able to take the high ground fight. Lich Ultimate also could be one of those factors that really isn't accounted for much. Still, the farm compared to the Witch Doctor, compared to that of the Dazzle, isn't even close. The Lich, after having a good laning stage, isn't able to transition that nearly as nicely when you don't have those initiating heroes, and it really does come down to initiation. Duobao are going to be spotted out. CDEC are continuously using that Zeus ultimate for vision, which is nice utility for the Zeus, but we haven't been able to see him get that much damage inside the team fights in these small scale engagements. It's been pretty nice for the Zeus, but he tends to just get jumped. Slardar is looking for it, not going to find the Lion, TPing him to base. Lion will be just fine. Still doesn't have enough items unless he sells his boots to get that Blink Dagger, and I don't think he's going to have it for this next engagement, really sadly for the Lion. Tier 2 tower in the bottom lane going to be taking a lot of damage, and there's nothing that CDEC really want to do in order to be able to take this fight. It's too risky outside their base when your Juggernaut's on buyback cooldown still for 2-minute 40. Now pushing high ground, this is the time for CDEC to make a stand and try to make a hold. It's so hard though. You drop the armor onto the Shadow Fiend coming up from the weave, and it really is crazy how much armor he is sitting on. The Juggernaut's going to aggress upon him, but getting amped up in just one right click? Oh, jeez. That's crazy. I don't have another word for it. The power of Slardar Shadow Fiend is there. Blink Stomp, but a Blink Crush in response, and Shadow Fiend is still standing on this high ground. Looks like he might be losing his Aegis, but Shallow Graved. Looks like they might be saving the Zeus ultimate for it. He doesn't quite have the mana for it, though. He throws in another bolt. Won't be able to take down the Aegis. It's probably worth it to use his Zeus ultimate to bring down that Aegis the Immortal, but isn't going to use that now because he doesn't know exactly the status of Shadow Fiend's HP, and with the Dazzle there, looks like Duobao have been repelled. CDEC hold their high ground, and that's kind of what they need to be looking to do. The Aegis is still going to be there on the Shadow Fiend for about 1:50. This is really nice for them. It buys the time for the Blink Dagger on the line they've been talking about a lot this game, and fixes a lot of the issues for CDEC. They have this Blink War Stomp on the Doom. That's nice, but now they have something to follow up, or maybe even open up the engagements for CDEC. I could definitely see CDEC turning this one around, although this is by no means going to be an easy game for them. 8,000 the net worth advantage, and 5,000 the experience advantage in favor of Duobao. It definitely could happen if this Aegis doesn't get anything substantial. The Shadow Fiend is still a monster. He's a 10-second BKB, his Sanjiyashi Shadow Blade, 3,000 gold on top of that, probably a butterfly, I want to say, is this next item? Maybe not. Looks like that's what it's going to be. Shadow Fiend is going to lead the call or lead the team and make the call to go for this tier 2 tower mid lane. And they should be able to do that. As nice as it was for CDEC to defend their barracks in the bottom lane, still they lose the tier 3 tower, and Duobao aren't heartbroken with that last exchange, but really, all eyes on the line. Hopefully good things for CDEC. They kind of need these Earth Spikes to be on point. Froststorm is going to slow down this push, but not by much. Shadowfiend still with that Aegis is going to wail away on the tower, and is going to be able to take it down. Not a Butterfly, but a Scotty for the Shadowfiend. Reasonable enough. Or even a Lincoln's if he doesn't want to get doomed. That still gives him a little bit of extra agility no matter what it's going to be. And in general, he doesn't need all that much more damage. We've seen how much DPS he's able to do, even with a mostly defensive build. Or at least mixed defensive build. Shadowblade is a very aggressive item, but doesn't give you that much right-clicking damage stat. A little bit here and there. On the flip side of the coin, CDEC.Y Juggernaut also going to get his Scotty to reasonable timing. And considering how much they've been pressured, he's doing fine. The issue for them is still that Zeus's Bloodstone is looking super sad. His net worth isn't that terrible. But the Bloodstone just means so much less when you're not able to sustain your mana usage around the map. It's a glorified soul booster at this point. 16-7, the Aegis has been reclaimed, and Shadowfiend is going to buy Helm of the Dominator to replace that Aegis. Maybe he hasn't decided what he wants with the Ultimate Orb yet, but with the extra slot, who can blame him? That Helm is such a great tool. And man fighting against the Juggernaut too. Shadowfiend's so tanky. It's going to be really hard for them to bring him down unless they're able to start whittling these BKB charges to a lower duration, to where they can actually get benefit from the damage coming out from the Zeus. And another state of the game where everything's slow and steady. We haven't seen initiation for a long time. And we probably won't for a while yet. Everybody's just grouped up, watching as their carries, and maybe every once in a while their supports get a little bit of farm. I think Duobao could have maybe been able to stick around in the enemy woods and be able to keep their presence known on the enemy side of the map. Although it's a risky move, I think it's a good one. But I do like this gem purchase by the Witch Doctor. He's not going to fully commit for the Aghanim Scepter, be greedy in that respect. Just having that D-ward power to match the bolts coming out from the Zeus is going to be really nice for Duobao. Right now the ward vision from either team is reasonably good. And it might not be in the future. Vision advantage is one of the biggest things in Dota when you are relying on these initiators to turn around your fights. Can't help but feel that Duobao are playing things a little bit too slow though. This Juggernaut is going to be a terrifying force once he starts picking up his 6-slotted build. We haven't talked a lot about when it comes to his item progression is the Spirit Breaker, and in fact he's very farmed for a Spirit Breaker in any case. It's the BKB, Blade Mail, Sange looking towards the Heaven's Halberd next. This is a lot of items for him. A little bit surprised that Spirit Breaker didn't go for Midas based on his early game, but you know what? He has all of the items that he needs for now. And that's probably more important for Duobao. Maybe they're going to find a charge initiation. They're going towards the Juggernaut. I think Juggernaut has a pretty good idea that this is happening though. They're all going to back off. Every play he's playing so defensively. There just isn't an opportunity for Duobao to make that leap. The advantage lead, or the rate at which Duobao are making advantages is slowed down almost entirely. And CDEC are actually getting a little bit more gold by nature of how fast the Juggernaut is farming and by having a Devour on the Doom. They're getting more space than I thought they would. Oh, well, yeah, nothing's changed. Shadowfiend farms, Juggernaut farms, everybody farms. But maybe CDEC are going to break that silence as they have a smoke. Ready to go, looking for an initiation. Will they be able to find anything with it, though? I think this is mostly just a warding mission for the Lich. He doesn't have that many wards. They really do want this kill. They're going to throw a bolt in the Roshan pit, find that it hasn't been respawned. Frosty the Frost Mage going to go into the Roshan pit and scout that out himself for the side of Duobao. But it looks like Duobao have the same idea. They're going to smoke up. The smoke is spotted by the Zeus, and now CDEC or CDEC Young, just CDEC.Y, are going to book it. They want nothing to do with Duobao when it's a 5-on-5 fight. But Duobao really do want to find this engagement. The Shadowfiend is itching to use that 10-second BKB. It is so powerful this game. And they're going to catch charge vision with the deep ward that was just about to expire, but they cancel that charge. Such a slow game. 16-7. We've had a couple of isolated engagements, but not for a while. Most of the action is up until this point, where Duobao just find fight after fight after fight. They are able to push that advantage, get the Aegis, but not be able to take a Rax off the back of it. Or take another really convincing fight either. They get a couple of tier 2s, but what does that really matter? If CDEC.Y are able to turn around and take down these tier 2s in their favor, they might even find themselves with a gold lead. And I think this passive state is favoring them. It's always so hard to take a game late against a Doom, especially when you only have one major super farmed Shadow Fiend as your right-clicking DPS. Shadow Fiend is, for the most part, Doom resistant, though. He has a lot of stats, is incredibly hard to bring down, even if he is Doom. Doesn't really need his spells to still do a truck ton inside these team fights. But he's mostly a single target damage dealer in these fights. And the Omnislash from Juggernaut, we haven't seen it really be all that powerful this game, but it has the chance to be amazing. Even though Duobao are probably still winning this game and are probably still comfortable with this situation, I think they're giving CDEC a much greater chance to turn this one around by delaying. They're going to go into the Roshan pit, tanking with Frosty. They should probably put the Frost Armor on the Mage. They're going to keep on tanking with him. Rip in pieces, Frosty. Your sacrifice will not be in vain. He gets clapped down by Roshan, poor guy. But this Roshan is maybe even a little bit sadder. Slaughter Illusion is going to be taken down. I was kind of hoping that they'd leave it there and then Slaughter's Illusion is able to... Was that a Slaughter Illusion? I thought that was a Dire Illusion. I might be seeing things. I'm crazy. Aegis towards Duobao. Is that going to change the state of this game much? I'm not sure. Even though his Bloodstone's really sad, Zeus has managed to farm himself a Yule Scepter in a blink. Zeus, although having that Bloodstone is awesome in these fights, he's still doing fine for himself. And really the state of this is that all of CDEC are doing fine for themselves. The only bit of surprise here is that nobody's gone for a Hand of Midas based on this really passive state of the game. The Doom especially. Probably would have been better suited to replace the Drums with the Midas. Drums is such a hard item to evaluate though. It has a more quiet impact on the game than something like the Blink. Slardar might be bumping a Doom soon. They haven't spotted each other yet. The Slardar is going to be charging forward. Oh, they actually do have the vision on the Juggernaut. They're going to get this charge, but cancel it. The Shadow Fiend has a nice wraparound angle here with an Invis rune. Presence of the Dark Lord is going to be applied to the Juggernaut soon, but I don't think they quite have gotten in range for that to be the case. And everybody will go home their merry way. This is the safest Dota you're going to see. 5-manning everywhere, only taking farm that they know is not going to get them killed, or at least has a very low chance of getting them killed. Only going for aggressive rotations when you have the smoke and when you have the Aegis. Duobao are now going to look to push down this bottom lane. Chiva Guskard is done on the Doom, but this Shadow Fiend is so tanky. Even the bolts, although they are going to do quite a number, aren't going to dissuade him from sitting up here. Maybe now he needs to respect it. Earthspike connects. Shadow Fiend has his Aegis to Immortal though, and they're going to respect that. It's another situation where you're just not going to jump him. Even though that Zeus is doing a lot of damage. The maxed out passive especially is really one of the big deciding factors here. Double Frost Armor on both of the barracks. The melee barracks Frost Armor has expired, but I'd like to see Lich reapply that soon. They're going to focus range barracks. Slow and steady wins the race. This is Turtle Dota. Shadow Fiend is going to take a bolt. Shallow Grave. Better safe than sorry. Maybe a bit preemptive, but again, this is not about who takes the buildings faster. It's about who takes the buildings, period. And Duobao are getting there. Eventually. I mean, this of course favors them. As much as I jest. Ranged barracks are only surviving with 121 HP. That's not going to be regenning at all. Frost Armor or not, it's probably going to die. Only 2 minutes left on this Aegis. Shadow Fiend is going to get spotted up by a Sentry Ward, or maybe they know exactly where it is. He opens up to the line! That's not a line anymore. He's been demolished. Without that Blink Hex, I think they can just straight up go. Shadow Fiend's going to do a little dance. And now they're going to look for another strike. They're TPing in on the front lines. Doom is there, blinks in, looking for the War Stomp. Zeus ultimate committed. The Aegis will be dropped. The Spirit Breaker, added a couple of SHs there. The Omni Slash flies, rips apart the Dazzle, rips apart another. Double kill for the Jug. Blinking and Crush. Juggernaut is going to be delayed. Doomed up. The Shadow Fiend is going to be able to right-click down this Juggernaut with no ability to get back into this game with no buyback. Looks like they might be able to do it. Shadow Fiend is dead here. Nobody's going to be able to deny him. One more smack. Doom is going to kill him off. Blink Crush. The Doom is going to fall, but so is the Slaughter as both of their bodies collapse simultaneously. Double kill for the Slaughter. The real winner inside this last fight is Zeus. Up to 8 Bloodstone charges after being down to 3. CDEC hold. They lose their ranged barracks, but what does that really matter? They're not punished for not having buyback on the Juggernaut. I think Duobao are just expecting him to hold on to it, and it's too risky for them to buy back themselves. The state of the game has not really changed. We're floating at about that 7,500 net worth advantage for Duobao and 5,000 experience advantage, as we have been for the greater part of the second half of this game. Oh my. This maybe changes things up nicely. Witch Doctor's Death Ward, now Aghanim upgraded. Could be difficult for CDEC to cancel it off. Really depends on how the initiations go down, and maybe we're going to have one on the line. Spirit Breaker's going in for the solo kill. He has the BKB. Does he need to pop it for this? He might be regretting this. He's getting turned around. Zeus ultimate, Earth Spike, and Spirit Breaker is going to be dropped so low. Pops his BKB, goes for another strike, connects onto the line, but he's just going to get right-clicked down. They have the Shallow Grave. Blade Mail is popped. The Lion in the corner is going to get charged up. The Shivas will kill him off, though. That's a bit of greed coming out from the Spirit Breaker. I like it. A greedy play. Who'd have thunk it? Nice stomp coming up for the Doom. They know where Dazzle's TPing, and they're going to be able to kill him off. That was clean coming out from CDEC. I like the response, but for once we're seeing somebody make a greedy play. I didn't think it was possible this game. He really didn't want to use his BKB, but he probably should. When you're going for a solo pickoff like that on a hero that can CC you down when you don't have perfect vision of the enemy team, and he didn't know exactly what was behind that line, you just have to be very safe about it. With those 2 heroes' deaths, only getting the line in response, CDEC are going to be pretty happy with that last turn of events. It buys them farming space, at least around their ancients for the Juggernaut. Item progression for the side of Duobao. We have the Assault Cuirass done on the Slaughter. Aghanim Scepter already talked about. But for the Shadow Fiend, after picking up this Eye of Scotty, hasn't built anything yet, although it's not because of a lack of gold. He has 3,000. It's because he wants to save buyback before committing towards his next item. I think Shadow Fiend might want to get something a little bit smashier next. MKB, Daedalus, replace that Shadow Blade maybe? Shadow Blade's still pretty good. It's hard to make that call. He'll probably just go for the Satanic and Moon Shard and finish up his build that way. But this Juggernaut is very terrifying, and no presence of a Dark Lord, I think they know. Or do they? Shadow Fiend's around the corner, they open up into the Juggernaut, they get the crush, and Juggernaut is demolished. I'll scratch that needing extra damage thing. Double kill. Shadow Fiend cleaves down the Lion. That's gross. Assault Cuirass plus Presence of the Dark Lord plus amp damage equals ouch. If you're CDEC. There is buyback in the Juggernaut this time around. He can be back in this fight, but Duobao again have the momentum and are ready to push high ground. Can CDEC hold? Let's find out. You're gonna go down towards the bottom lane with the already exposed melee barracks. Doom might need to make a jump soon. As long as they don't lose this structure, they're fine. They can take a little bit of damage, that'll respawn. Blink in, hoof stomp, Doom onto the Shadow Fiend. Zeus ultimate will be thrown. The Shadow Fiend is so low. Omni Slash over the 2. They're going to kill out the Spirit Breaker as well. Double kill for Artis. The Shadow Fiend limps away. That Doom, is that going to be lethal? I don't think so. Yeah, he's going to be just fine. Fine is a relative term. Maybe the Dazzle's not. Thunderbolt cancels TP. Ultra kill for the Juggernaut as he's able to mop up all of the last hits. Just like that, 14 Bloodstone charges on the Zeus. I'll remind you, Zeus started out this game by dying twice instantly after having the Bloodstone. And now he's at a happy place. He hasn't died at all, I want to say. Maybe once. In recent memory, at the very least, and Duobao are now punished for trying to go for that high ground. They have a Yule Scepter on the Shadow Fiend in the Earth Spike. Pops this BKB. Wants to go for this Lion, but doesn't have to be afraid of follow-up. He can't go for that. And he is going to fall out. Or fall back, excuse me. CDEC now going to be able to push down these tier 2 towers. And maybe for once they're going to get a lead in this game. Such a slow curve. But that favors the team that's behind. with how delicate going high ground is. A couple of botched attempts, and CDEC are right back into this game. The Zeus doing so much damage, and now has the refresher too. Your Witch Doctor, your Dazzle, not going to be staying long, especially the Dazzle, even though both of them have the Glimmer Capes. And that's a great pickup against Zeus. Just not enough. It really isn't. And the BKBs are starting to dwindle in duration. 7 seconds on the Shadow Fiend. Spirit Breakers is already down to 5. BKB popped by the Doom. He's going to find an angle onto the Slaughter. BKB popped by the Slaughter. He's going to get doomed up. Finger of Death, one smack. Dazzle is going to get lasered. Feels bad, man. But CDEC, they only get the Dazzle for a Blink Doom initiation. I don't think they're going to be able to transition that into any tower pushes. And here comes Big Daddy Shadow Fiend. Shadow Blade walking around the corner. They have a charge. They're going to go towards the Doom, it seems. His armor has been broken. Now that's going to apply or not stay on him. They're going to drop the Omni Slash. 3 of these heroes are very grouped up. They're grouped up. They're going to have the refresher on the Zeus. The ultimate will be popped. The Witch Doctor ultimate, though, bouncing so much on the Juggernaut. They're going to kill him off. And again, these heroes are very grouped, but with the level that the Spirit Breaker falls. Earth Spike on the Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend is about half HP. Needs to give this Zeus especially a lot of space here. He does so much damage, but then again, so does the SF as he isolates the Lich towards the north. Double kill for the Shadow Fiend. CDEC? They're going to claim the gem in their favor, but losing the Juggernaut is not something they can be happy about ever. Juggernaut has no buyback. He bought out for that Talisman of Evasion, which is a great casual item. But if Duobao are able to go aggressively now, maybe they're able to punish. They'll go for Roshan first. This is an Aegis and a cheese for Duobao. The Shadow Fiend is going to be the one to pick up this Aegis. He has said goodbye to his Shadow Blade. Currently being held by the Witch Doctor, I want to say. I don't think he bought his own. Zeus is around the corner. He's gonna start throwing bolts in the pit. He knows this is happening. They're gonna throw the coconut his way. Here comes Doom. Blink War Stomp. War Stomp misses. Earth Spike doesn't. They'll open up into the Doom. So much burst damage onto the Shadow Fiend. He's getting it graved up. Gets another shot into the Lion. That snowball is not gonna be lethal. The Doom is gonna get level death. Shadow Fiend has buyback, but they weren't able to get anything off of that Juggernaut kill. This Zeus is the secret carry. Coming up from CDEC. I'm really so impressed that the Zeus has done so well. Blink Crush. They capture the Doom. The physical damage is pretty huge, but with that Shiva's, it's not quite enough, even through the amplified damage. Nether Strike. Bash. Maybe finally they're able to kill off the Zeus. Defensive Yules. The Lich ultimate bouncing. The Blade Mail is going to be popped on the Spirit Break. Oh no! Witch Doctor's going to take a bounce from that Lich ultimate, and that's going to be lethal. CDEC are getting pursued. Here's the charge forward. They pop the BKB on the Spirit Breaker. Blink Crush. They want to bring down this Zeus, and they will. 35 seconds on the sidelines. Can they get out cleanly? They'll halberd up the Doom. He's going to level death the Spirit Breaker, getting the Amplify and a level 18 hero. Spirit Breaker is going to die for that aggressive charge, or is he? He's getting away. Charges out to the mid lane, creeps, earns himself, and will be able to TP back towards base. But Roshan is going to be claimed by CDEC. Finally, we're seeing some extended action. Both of these teams are feeling the pressure for Duobao. It's, hey, we've been ahead this game. We're falling behind. CDEC definitely have a chance of getting this. We just got a Juggernaut kill. Let's do something with it. And for CDEC, it's, hey, they're going for Roshan. They're getting a little bit cocky. This Zeus is doing so much damage. They're able to turn that around, although it does cost them the Zeus's life with that Bloodstone. Add so many charges. It's going to be back up and running. Go for this push now that they have the Aegis and the cheese. Cheese to the Doom, Aegis to the Juggernaut. Now, things are gonna slow down a bit. This is the pace we've all been comfortable with for the majority of this game. 50 minutes in, and still nobody's really all that close to winning this one. Look at how even this game has been this entire match. That 10,000 advantage, or nearly 10,000 net worth advantage for Duobao, meant next to nothing. After this point, they just farmed. Right here, this is all farming space. And here, this is all farming space. Between these two peaks, that's where Duobao sit back and let the Juggernaut get a little bit of space. Let the Zeus get a little bit of space. And now it's starting to bite them. By no means is this game over. I really don't think... If we started this game, both teams would be about as close to finishing it. But since we are at the late game situation, buyback means so much more. And finding pickoffs just by the nature of how long those heroes are going to be dead because of the levels that are being picked up by them is really what's going to make the difference here. Level 25 on the Shadow Fiend, 23 and 23 apiece on the Juggernaut. These are the heroes that you need to look out for. And for now, neither the Shadow Fiend nor the Juggernaut have buyback. And because of that, nobody's going to push. Even with Aegis. Even with Aegis. 3 minutes. And that's how long CDEC have with this extra life on the Juggernaut. Are they even going to push high ground with it? I don't think so. Maybe. Maybe. Only if Duobao get caught off guard. This is... again, just some of the safest Dota you're ever going to see. CDEC are still grouped as 5. Duobao are close enough to being grouped as 5. Spearbreak is a little bit out in front. He can afford to be that until he gets spotted out by the Zeus ultimate. They'll ping him out. And then Luffy's just going to casually back off under his tier 2 tower. A-okay. A-okay. CDEC.Y. They're going to push for a tier 2 tower. But this tier 2, probably not going to be defended by Duobao. I don't think so. It's just not worth the risk. Look at how many range creeps they have, though. Woo! That is quite the army. Count with me. 1, 2, 3. Range creeps. They'll push the top lane, then get mowed down by the Razes. CDEC have a double damage rune on this Juggernaut, but with a Daedalus on the Shadow Fiend. It's really hard to call how this next fight goes down. We're at the situation where dooming the Shadow Fiend is meaning next to nothing. And I think you consider just dooming up the Witch Doctor or the Dazzle. Those are the heroes that spells are really making the difference inside these fights. And the damage from Doom, although not negligible, is not really what you need that for. Taking away a Death Ward, taking away the Shallow Grave, I think might be more important than stopping Shadow Fiend from popping his Satanic. Although, still, granted, that's very important, but just Shadow Fiend right-clicking even while he is Doom gives him so much lifesteal, and he's dealing so much DPS. Shadow Fiend's getting close to his 6-slotted build. He replaces the Sanjin Yashu with that Daedalus. Has yet to replace the Shadow Blade. The Juggernaut and the Shadow Fiend are close to each other. They don't quite know it yet. Juggernaut is going to casually walk around, farm the Ancients, and with it, I think our timing for the Aegis to do anything for CDEC, except for allow the Juggernaut to farm this aggressively, is pretty much over. They get a tier 2 tower top, I already kind of mentioned, really doesn't do anything to change the state of this game, but Shadow Fiend getting picked off certainly does. He's farming pretty aggressively. He's surrounded by enemy heroes, but he doesn't know it. He's gonna bump into the Juggernaut. They know he's alone. They have the vision because of the Zeus ultimate. It's going to expire now. They have another bolt. They spot him out. The Shadow Fiend has to pop his BKB and man fight with the Satanic's almost back up to max HP. Man, Selby popped. They're going to look for the Nether Strike. 4 staff away. The Juggernaut will be fine for now. Hex onto the Spirit Breaker. Blinking Crush onto the Juggernaut. Juggernaut is going to take a wild dash to the Death Ward. Look at it go! Nether Strike in, they kill off the Lich 2. The Aegis Immortal is available, but that Witch Doctor, it's crazy. Refresher Ultimate coming out from the Zeus. Refresher Doom, I believe, is going to be thrown on the Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend's still standing. Can he stand much longer? Man fighting, he's life stealing through the Doom damage. The Juggernaut can't kill him. And neither can the rest of the team. He's killing off the Zeus next. Hero to hero, Duobao cannot be stopped. And the Shadow Fiend will survive. 4 heroes hit the deck for CDEC. TP away by the Lion. Oh my goodness. Yeah, remember a couple of seconds ago when I was talking about that Witch Doctor Death Ward being a big deal? That was the Death Ward for Duobao. That was awesome. And now they're tanking up. The Shadow Fiend's ready to go. There is buyback available for the Juggernaut. There's buyback available for the Zeus. But there is no buyback for the Deuce, which I think is what I was supposed to say. Doom is down for 40 seconds or so, and Lich is down too. Duobao now. Finally, after 55 minutes of gameplay, are going to start breaking this base. The Glyph of Fortification is available. CDEC, they might be able to delay long enough to get this Doom back up and running, but he's not going to have a single one of his namesake ultimate spells to throw out. By the time that he's here, the melee barracks bottom lane for sure is going to fall. The real objective here for CDEC is, can you defend your second set in mid, and can you defend the racks up towards top? And it's looking doubtful. Melee barracks are falling quickly. The Juggernaut has not bought back yet. And that's going to be 2 barracks going in favor of Duobao. One good fight, all it takes in these late game scenarios. Charging away, walking away. Duobao are out. CDEC preserved their buyback on the Juggernaut. I don't think him buying back there actually makes much of a difference. His Omni Slash just comes off of cooldown as the melee barracks is dying. And really, it's just not all that impressive, the amount of damage he's able to do when he doesn't have the Omni Slash available. Even with this Talisman Invasion, the Shadow Fiend still rips him a new one, even without having the MKB. Ooh, back to a little bit more slower of a state, but finally a team is getting closer to winning. The constant lane pressure is going to be annoying for CDEC, but by no means does this end the game. It does give CDEC a lot to worry about, but with this Battle Fear already on the Juggernaut, and he's doing so much damage with those crits and the Mask of Madness, he can push out these lanes still. Yeah. 31 to 24. Duobao are going to be happy with their situation, but cannot get complacent. This is still a game that they can lose, and they recognize that. And they're going to play about as safe as they have been for the last forever. Last 57 minutes at the very least. And we'll wait out for the next Roshan, which has the potential to spawn in the next couple of seconds. Zeus gonna throw a bolt into the pit. Sees that nobody's home. Nobody can be home yet. Still has an appointment elsewhere. And Duobao, they're gonna group up. They have a smoke on the Witch Doctor. And maybe we get to see them use an aggressive rotation. It's very impressive to me that the Witch Doctor survived so many of these fights. 1566 HP. At this point in the game is not that much for the amount of damage that CDEC have. He's just been in the perfect spot. 5-2 and 12. The Witch Doctor is Duobao's secret carry. Really wasn't that last fight. That Witch Doctor ultimate was monstrous. One of their biggest tools at killing off the Juggernaut. Butterfly's there. At least that stops the main bounce of the Witch Doctor ultimate, or at least mitigates it. The 35% evasion does affect the ward, at least for the original hit, not the extra bouncy action afterwards. But with Solar Crest on Duobao's side, now this Juggernaut kind of needs a Monkey King Rar. They also have the Spirit Breaker's Halberd. The physical damage from CDEC isn't enough to carry them through this game. A lot of pressure is going to be applied on the Zeus, and whether or not he's going to be able to be the damage dealer that CDEC really need him to be. Everybody's back on their side of the map farming. I think I've seen this before. I'll remind you, melee barracks are down mid lane. Melee and range down the bottom lane. We're just waiting for next Roshan respawn timer. I'll be back around in a minute. See you then. Who knows? If somebody gets caught out of position, that could change. But with the way these teams are playing, getting caught out of position is almost impossible. This is never going to be a, hey, we have 3 heroes, they only have 1, we're pushing out this lane alone, let's jump them. It's always going to be a 5 versus 5 fight. And Duobao are going to look to find that smoke initiation for that 5 versus 5 fight now. Leading the charge with the Slardar. Spirit Breakers a little bit further behind, but still there on the left. They see the Ancients are being stacked. They know somebody's around the corner. Are they going to find them? Radiant's Vision, they spot out the Lich. Charging onto the Lich. This is through the entire enemy team. Juggernaut's on the sidelines. Invis Shadow Fiend running towards. They're going to doom up the Spirit Breaker at the beginning of this fight. Glimmered up. Is that all it's going to be? They pop the refresher. BKB. Blink War Stomp. Dooms up the Shadow Fiend. He can't get a Requiem off in this fight, but the right click damage from the Shadow Fiend is still huge. With the Omni Slash, he loses Dazzle. Slardar also dropping low. Gonna turn with the Crush. Slardar survives on 9 HP. He's gonna get out to the sidelines as they charge forward, looking for the Zeus. With more crits, more damage. Double kill for the Shadow Fiend. Buybacks available for the Juggernaut. Ooh, Crush. Ooh, that was close. That was very close. Lich is going to survive. If only just. CDEC need to buy back now, but they don't have a single Doom. They don't have their Omni Slash. They don't have a single Thunder God's Wrath. And Duobao are going to retreat. Something told me that if they saw buybacks, they'd probably play things safe. There's no reason to throw this game. A very competitive group, and with so many small upsets in these best of ones, who knows who's going to win these Chinese qualifiers and get their chance to play at the land of Vilnius. Roshan dropping so quick. This is going to be BKB trying for the steal. Slardar picks up the Age of the Immortal. The Radiant team get the last hit, and the Doom is going to die. Shadow Fiend with a couple more right clicks. This game is looking close to over for CDEC. They don't have a Doom for 90 seconds. They have eyes on this Lich. They need every single hand on deck. They're going to lose another hero without buyback available. In fact, the Dire team have none to spend. At least they haven't been spent already. 3 versus 5. I don't like your chances, CDEC. Not with this. Shadow Fiend is so huge. He consumes his Moon Shard and is ready to go. Duobao, this has been a very slow and steady game. It felt at times like they weren't controlling the map as aggressively as they could have, but they still are the ones consistently in the lead, and it's working out for them, this slow and steady playstyle after just a couple of good fights. Look at the armor on that Shadow Fiend with the Solar Crest and the Weave. He's taking next to no damage from this tower. In fact, I'm sure if he is taking any damage. The Juggernaut has his Omni Slash ready. This is the last hurrah coming out from CDEC. Ewell Scepter defensively postured. They're going to throw the Finger of Death onto one. The Witch Doctor ultimate is completely zoning them out. Ghost Scepter popped by the Doom with the Omni Slash and the Battle Fury. Will be able to bring down the Aegis as well as the Dazzle. Charging forward, though, the Spirit Breakers inside their base. The Shadow Fiend's focusing down the Ancient, and Duobao have done it, taking this best of 1 over CDEC.Y. Well played, Duobao. I don't think there's much more than we say about this game. Slardar, look at that happy little Slardar go. Dancing his merry little jig. Definitely has some moves. Duobao play things very safely, but it works out for them. And as I said, as flashy as the Shadow Fiend play was, I can't take anything away from any of the other players from Duobao, but it really was that Death Ward up in top lane. The almost full channel Death Ward that kills off the Jug and kills off a couple of others with it that really shakes things up. That lead Duobao to take those sets of racks. And until those racks fell down, it really was unclear who would win this game. In a minute 2, Duobao will find victory. Thanks for tuning in to the GameShow Global Esports Cup non-stop best of ones for the Chinese region of the group stage coming your way soon. I've been Grandis V. Hope to have you stick around for more. Coming soon.